What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, the podcast. Episode, whatever episode number it is. Though it is getting to the point where I probably need to start planning episode 200. That's a wild statement. We're still several weeks away from that. Several. Months even, so don't worry. But it's close enough that I should start thinking about it. But either way, thank you guys for coming back for another week. We're going to talk about MLB The Show and such today. A lot of stuff's happened. I feel like it's been weeks since I've recorded, which is just factually inaccurate. This podcast comes out every Tuesday. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, if you're one of those people. Some of you exist. Shocking to me. But I feel like so much has happened, positive and not as positive, in MLB The Show in the last week. So we're going to talk about something that probably covers both. We're not going to talk about the egg hunt because most people, have figured that out by now. They did do a fun April Fool's joke by adding Tony Tarasco into the game, or whatever the heck his name is. He's here now. Sorry, Orioles fans. They just keep trolling you this year. But that's neither here nor there. Today we are going to talk about Game Update 3, the positives, and what happened the day it was deployed. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an interesting one. And I hope you guys will share your opinions on what happened in the comments. It was an interesting day. On, was it Wednesday or Thursday? Whatever day it was actually deployed. It was an interesting day. So we're going to talk about all of it. So thank you guys for being here. Like, subscribe, and of course comment when you have some stuff to say. So, let's get over to how do you full screen this? Hold on. Professional YouTubist. I know how to full screen stuff. No, I don't. It's one of these buttons. Was it this one? Nope. Is it that one? That one? Oh, I did it. Okay, we're full screen. LOL. We're on theshow.com. We're going to go to news, and we're going to talk about the game update. You guys see me do this shit live, clearly. I have no idea what I'm doing. All right. Before we talk too deep about the game update, I have got some stuff for you. Same as last week, I am proud to announce this episode is sponsored by the MLB The Show shop on Etsy. Nick Horan. You might know him on Twitter as Ho-Ran. He creates physical cards out of your favorite MLB The Show cards from inside the game. Look at these. He was very nice and sent me some free ones. He's the man. One of my favorite cards from last year, J.P. Crawford, with the cracked ice effect. This card is sick. It's a real card. It's not just like flimsy paper. It's like these are real. He sent me some notes to give you guys. You can purchase one of two finishes. An original glossy, bingo, or a cracked ice, bingo. They look sick. You can buy them as cards on cardstock or as stickers. Those stickers will be the same exact size, but they're only going to have the front design. These cards have backs to them, and you can kind of customize what you'd like on them. He sent me a sticker. And last week, I already put it on my very disgusting water bottle. Look how cool that Ronald Acuna is. I now have a Ronald Acuna Jr. water bottle. It is waterproof. You don't have to worry about ruining it when you give it a wash. Please wash your water bottles, by the way. People who use reusable bottles often forget. That's a separate PSA. You should wash your water bottles. All cards come with a protective laminate layer to prevent them from smudging, a penny sleeve, and a top loader, unless you order the magnetic protective case like I have on the J.P. Crawford card. Go to MLB The Show shop on Etsy. Check it out. He let me know, shout out to you guys, he let me know that several people checked out the show shop and even bought some stuff from the promo we did last week. You guys are killer. That's the whole point of promos like this, to let you guys know of cool stuff that maybe you might want to spend your shekels on. So, shout out to you guys, shout out to Nick, and thank you guys for listening to this promo. But now, it is time to talk about Game Update 3. So, Game Update 3 was announced on March 27th. Do the math and how many days back that was. Again, I forgot. It is an enormous game patch. So, fun story. Last week for Whiteboard Wednesday, I recorded an episode, or not really an episode per se, a video for Whiteboard Wednesday, of the history of the two-way player glitch. Thinking it would not be patched, the next day, I was kind of stunned, honestly, that it was patched as fast as it was. I thought they would take more time to, like, do research, and they love data, which is fine. It's a video game. They should love data. I just didn't think they'd patch it as fast, so that's kind of why I put that video out. But that's not the only thing that was fixed. We're going to go over this patch, because it fixes a ton of stuff in theory. I want to make one comment quickly before we actually go through this patch, which at this point a lot of you guys might have seen, but I do think it's good to give a reaction to it. Right after this patch came out, I tweeted something to the effect of, say what you want, but this is a massive, in-depth update by SDS with reasoning behind some stuff. Like, there's a big communication blurb at the bottom that we're going to talk about. They could have fixed these things piecemeal. They could have ignored some of these things. They could have just focused on small stuff. They could have waited longer to do any of it. So, on the surface, shout out for the communication and the ability to get ahead of not really get ahead of them, because technically the problems already existed, but get ahead of prolonging the existence of the issues. Then the next day, it deployed, and as we all know, there's no need to spend a ton of time on this. The game completely broke. Everybody looked like Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Small bodies, big heads. The numbers of the jerseys were wrong. Everybody, it seemed like, was a right-handed hitter unless their player model wasn't affected, which was few and far between. Kyle Manzardo is a great example of somebody whose hat, like, shrunk through the forehead and his eyes were on, like, this part of his cap. It was scary horror stuff. Some players didn't have strike zones, so even if you threw it down the middle, it was never a strike. It was all wonky. Thankfully, it was, like, mostly fixed by the afternoon. I guess depending on what time zone you're in. But for me, by the afternoon. The game still played a little odd for the next day or so, but largely I think it's fine now. This is all to say, once the patch came out and broke everything, people came back to my tweet and said, hey, look how shitty this take is. Look, I wasn't commenting, everybody, on the deployment of the patch. I was commenting on the intentions of the patch, which, you doofuses, ended up still working. So I just want to point that out. I know that's a very small segment of the community. It's the internet. People are exceedingly dumb, and they get dumber every day, I feel like, on the internet. Really, they are idiots. Absolute morons. But just wanted to point that out, because if we're being serious, if we want to go ha-ha silly goose about the issues that it had, this was a really good game update. It took SDS 137 days last year to patch the two-way player glitch. It took them like 12 or 13 this year, which never should have been in the game to start, of course, because they fixed it once already, but the fact that it was fixed quickly is positive. So now, let's talk about this stuff. The general bug fixes and corrections. It fixed a bug that would cause inconsistent pinpoint timing for pitchers with quick deliveries when pitching from the stretch. It didn't totally fix. There are still some pitchers, like Jose Leclerc was a problem, now he's not. Raisel Iglesias wasn't a problem, but now I feel like he is. There are also some pitchers whose deliveries from the stretch themselves have quickened out of nowhere. Like Robert Suarez, I think his delivery suddenly got very fast. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm stupid. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Fixed an issue where controller vibration would fail to turn off after completing certain tutorials. That is frightening. I turned my vibration off the controller pretty much instantly with MLB The Show. I don't need it in MLB The Show. There are some games, of course, where it's fun and immersive. It's not in this game. If you're like a franchise, let me walk that back. If you play offline like Franchise or March to October or maybe even Road to the Show, I could see where controller vibration would be fun. It adds to like the pressure moments. It for sure like amps the energy up in those clutch situations. But for me as an online player, I just want to focus on what my opponent's doing. I don't want to focus on suddenly my controller going haywire in my hands. So this is a good fix for offline players, irrelevant to most online players. Fixed an issue where Matt Waldron would spin after a strikeout animation. I don't know what the hell that means, if I'm being completely honest. There are other Matt Waldron things we'll talk about later. Fixed various tagging issues that would happen due to larger base sizes. I don't know if I've ever experienced that, but I'm glad they're fixing things. Fixed a crash when entering moments. Again, I never experienced that, but the fact that it was fixed means people were. Fixed an issue causing network errors when entering Play Now daily rosters. I've never done that before. Though, I do want to point out, if you guys aren't aware, you can now, and I don't think this was a thing last year, you can now go to the Play Now mode on the main menu of the game and use every team's like real life daily lineup from days prior. I think that's super cool. I don't think that's ever been in the game before. I guess they're loaded into some sort of server and you can pick it. It's super cool. I think that's fun. Fixed an issue where the CPU was throwing balls at an excessively high rate. Listen, this was a massive complaint across the internet for this game. In my YouTube comments, on Twitter, on X, on Facebook, on Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, people were commenting about throwing balls at an excessively high rate. I'll say two things to that. Number one, people aren't going to like this one, but be more patient. I know people just want to get moments done. They just want to get their CPU grind done. It does teach patience. I will say that. Now, on the other hand, I am happy it was fixed. Because while it is a good lesson in preaching patience, I want to get the stuff done. The CPU should just not pump me fastballs down the Dickens, but I just want pitches in the zone that I can hit. I don't need to even hit them all for homers. I just want to put balls in play. When I'm playing the CPU and I'm doing moments, I don't want to walk. I want to at least give myself a chance to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. So this is a good fix. I also have not played anything against the CPU since this fix. So let me know if it is better. I hope it is. I have not done any CPU grinding since this update. I'm waiting for the new Team Affinity to come out. So let me know. And now two-way players will be eligible for the Home Run Derby in Franchise and Road to the Show. That's kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't impact me, but that's kind of cool. I imagine if like you have a two-way starting pitcher, like Shohei, that's cool. Diamond Dynasty fixes. Here's the big one. Pitcher energy for two-way players who enter a game from the bullpen will now function properly. To my knowledge, it is. I don't see these idiots using two-way pitchers in BR anymore. Nice. Again, that took 137 days last year to fix. Fixed a bug in mini-seasons where if the user added the same player card on their team, the CPU card stats would display in-game for the user team stats. Okay, so I believe that's just a visual bug. Was a visual bug. I don't believe this had any impact on gameplay itself. But either way, good that it's fixed. We should fix these things. Fixed a crash when exiting mini-seasons. I heard about this a lot. I did not experience it, but I heard about it plenty. Glad it's fixed. Fixed an issue that would cause the wrong bat skin to be displayed in-game. I did notice this at one point. Then when I re-equipped a different bat, my 10-0 flawless bat, it fixed it. But I did notice that, so I'm glad that's fixed. Reduced... There's a huge one, guys. We made fun of this a little bit in my 10 early issues with MLB The Show 24 Whiteboard Wednesday. I'm wearing my sunglasses, and I was like, hey, this is going to blind you. It's like a flashbang went off. SDS reduced the strobing that occurred when a user simulates through Conquest. I think it was just the menus were flashing too quickly, creating that strobing effect. So huge win, because that was, I mean, gonna make a boy cry with how bad that was. So I'm happy that's fixed. We moved to online head-to-head. Fixed an issue where defensive shifts were not lining up correctly. Okie dokie, glad that's fixed. Fixed a freeze that would occur when loading into a game. This was a thing people were dealing with and struggling with, and frankly annoyed by, as they should have been. So I hope it's been better. There will always be freeze issues. That's not me defending. I'm just stating a fact. There will always be freeze issues with online gameplay. Specifically, we know MLB The Show has a history of it. And as crappy as it is, people will always find or exploit ways to freeze things. But SDS is monitoring those situations. I can promise you that. Fixed a bug where users would become stuck in the waiting for screen. That was another one we highlighted in that 10 problems video. Glad it's fixed. Fixed an issue where offensive players or teammates of the active fielder would witness abrupt changes in player location, warping in the outfield. Yeah, they fixed the Tron Power Rangers teleportation effect. So happy about that. Now, it still happens from time to time. It is connectivity based. And I still believe you guys will have to confirm this with me, but from my experience, if you're playing crossplay, which I know, turn crossplay off. I don't mind crossplay all the time usually. Like I'm on PlayStation, and if I play an Xbox player, their outfielder is set to a default different depth than mine, and so it appears as if they're warping when the ball is over their head. So that still happens, but I think that's different than this. Then they had general stability improvements. General stability. Glad it was fixed or improved upon. I wish I knew what the hell that meant, but I'll take it. Moving to co-op, which now has an enormous bug in it, if you guys are not aware. You can use any card in the game in co-op right now, even if you don't own it. So you can use real 99s. I'm sure you guys have seen Cougs' video. Gunsky did one. Dimu did one. I think maybe Chev has been using them on stream, but I also don't want to lie about that, so I don't know. I think he did. I vaguely... Either way, you can use real 99s in co-op right now. Fixed an issue where throw meters would not appear when using the button accuracy. That's incredibly important to have, so hope that's better. Fixed multiple instances where freezes could happen after an in-game situation. Co-op is notorious for freezing, so even if this got fixed, I'm sure there are still other ways it's freezing. Fixed a bug related to pause timers that could cause the game to freeze. Yeah, there are so many connections going on in co-op. You either have 4 players connecting or 6 players connecting. It's gonna be tough to get incredibly smooth gameplay at this current rate. I know there are plenty of other co-op games that are not sports related that seem to make it work. I would love if SDS could learn from said games and said studios. Because I maintain this belief. I don't play co-op, really. I don't think I've played it since at least like last May or June. Part of me doesn't see the incentive behind doing it other than like having a blast with your friends. And that's, I of course would love to do that, but sometimes we just like to hang out in Discord and play our own games independently. Part of the turnoff for me for co-op is that I don't want to play a whole 9-inning game and then get given the loss when I won. Or I don't want to get into the 9th inning and then have it freeze and we wasted all that time. So I need more stability in co-op and honestly better rewards before I really start diving into it. Road to the show. Users will no longer be invited to the Future Stars game while in the MLB. Isn't that silly? It's like, hey, you're a 3-year vet, but like, would you like to come to the Future Stars game, chap? I don't actually know if that was the situation in which it was used, but I find that hysterical that was even a thing. Implemented new Future Stars game intros. That's cool. I like the realism of that. The Future Stars game is a lot of fun every year, so I appreciate that they're making that more immersive, rather. Fixed an issue where players would get stuck in a loop of the same defensive play repeatedly. It's like Groundhog Day, but a routine grounder to second. God, that's awful. Well, glad they fixed that, because that is hell on earth. Various pronoun commentary adjustments for both male and female players. Yeah, there were times in which they were calling, like, men players she or female players he. The commentary was just kind of bugged that way, so they adjusted that. That's good. Players will no longer have the number 42 on their jersey during a draft combine game. Nice little touch there. Not that that was game-breaking in any way, but it's just a visual thing. To franchise, which I see that people are having a lot of fun with this year. That's the word on the street. I know Mills, who is, in a good way, constructively critical of franchise, it seems like he's having a blast. And so if someone with a passion for franchise like him is having fun, I hope that means everybody else is having fun too. Because he knows what he's talking about, obviously. But neither here nor there. Fixed a crash while simulating past draft day with certain custom rosters. Fixing crashes is always important. And there's another crash fixed here. Fixed a crash while simulating to the Futures game with certain custom rosters. It seems like the Futures game, for some reason, was just kind of mucked up. I'm not going to pretend I know why, as I don't do development, but that is interesting. Adjustments made to text colors in the contract management screen. Good, because we've had some text issues with this game, and there's more to get into about that in a few minutes. And the draft board will now show drafted player positions. That's a smart thing. I feel like it probably should have had that from the jump. So I appreciate that. Just make quality of life better. So then there were storylines updates, and like, I went through storylines in like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and had zero problems while doing it once, other than the fact that, as we discussed, the pitcher was walking me every time. But that's not any of these issues. I never had. Fixed an issue where the nodes in year 1998, that's for Derek Jeter, would be marked as complete when pressing down to navigate to the 1998 map from 1996. That is a mouthful of words. Fixed issue where the nodes in here would be marked as complete when pressing down. Sure, that's fixed. I don't even know what that means. Fixed a server exception error that was occurring due to disconnecting from storylines and trying to re-enter the mode. Fixed an issue where the Jeter background sound effects would continue after disconnecting and returning to the main front-end menus. Fixed a bug that caused the box score to display the same name for both teams in-game. You know what? I might have seen that, actually. Not a big deal, but I noticed that one. Fixed Buck Leonard student of the game moment. Didn't know it was wrong. Honestly. I didn't have problems, like I said, really extensive ones anyway, with any of the moments, but it's fixed, so that's cool. Custom leagues. Fixed an issue that would cause a challenge failed error when matching up with another user. I mean, that's literally the entire point of custom leagues, is matching with other users, so I'm glad that's better. Miscellaneous. Various commentary and presentation updates and adjustments. Vague enough to hook me. The addition of the minor league baseball Copa de la Diversión uniforms for AA and AAA. Those uniforms, if you guys haven't seen them, are flames. They're fuego. They're incredible. There are some super, super cool jerseys, and they're all in-game. Or at least, I think there's 30 of them in-game. That might be all of them. At the very least, there's 30 of them. They're dope. They're super sick. Go check them out if you didn't get your free packs. I think they're free packs in the shop. Go pick some. Fixed a graphic issue on the 400-foot center field wall at the Rogers Center. I wouldn't have known what said graphic issue is, but it's fixed. Updated Roy Halladay Hall of Fame logo at the Rogers Center. Okay, good. And this is a big one. Various UI improvements for improved legibility. This is big. I'm so glad they made a fix to this. So, one of the bigger complaints with the UI so far, at least pre-patch, was that the fonts were either too light for a white background, so you couldn't read them, or they were like in a weird stylized script, or, you know, they just made them easier to read. What they didn't do was add a dark mode. The game is still very bright, but the way I interpret this is that it is too difficult. Not too difficult. Honestly, too much work. In a good way. Like, the design is really cool. But it might just be too much of an overhaul to add a dark mode, is what I'm trying to get at. I'm curious if that ever gets communicated. I'm curious if maybe they're working on it, just takes more time. That's just, I can't confirm if that's happening or not. It's just a guess or speculation. A dark mode would make the menus and the game look a lot better, in my opinion. Not even look a lot better, a lot easier on the eyes. I love the game style. I love most of the fonts. It is a lot more dynamic looking than years past, which had gotten very stale. But the fact that it's so bright is, you know, it's a lot. But small changes at least have been made. I'm hoping for more in the future. Moving to Nintendo Switch, and to my knowledge, the game didn't even work on the Nintendo Switch at all. So it fixed a crash when entering Diamond Dynasty, or game modes in Diamond Dynasty. Can't play Diamond Dynasty if you can't enter game modes. Fixed the freeze that would occur when playing with a single Joy. If you play this game with a singular Joy-Con, you are either a Looney Tune or actually the best player in MLB The Show history, and you just choose to play on a Switch. I can't play Pokemon on one Joy-Con. I abuse this thing. This is my Pokemon machine. I have it connected at all times. I can't even play with one Joy-Con for Pokemon. I don't even know if you're able to. I know on Pokemon Go using the not Pokemon Go. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee using the Joy-Cons to throw the damn balls was impossible. So you're crazy. Shout out to you. Fixed inconsistencies on the right field Jumbotron and Busch Stadium. Fuck Busch Stadium. I don't know. On Xbox, fixed an issue that could cause a soft lock on Xbox during boot up. That is not good. Now, this is maybe my favorite part of the game update. They don't do this a lot, but they added developer notes in which they actually give us context behind things and explain themselves. So balance changes. This is a huge one. In a content update coming Friday, March 29th. Which obviously has already happened. Matt Waldron will see an increase to velocity on his knuckleball and slight decrease to his break. This should make his knuckleball generally easier to hit. We will continue monitoring community feedback and adjusting if needed. Yeah, Matt Waldron is one of the dumbest pitchers in this video game ever. I'm sure you guys have seen the viral clips. Shout out to Goobs, who had a really funny one where he threw a knuckleball that floated 18 feet in the air, went behind the hitter, and then still managed to land in the strike zone. And then he did it again. Matt Waldron is still very expensive for some reason. He's a bronze. Because I think he's still getting abused a little bit. I've seen less of him since this update, which means I think at least the update worked a little, but I'm assuming there will need to be more balancing moving forward. Good to see that they're listening to feedback, though, because it's bad. Co-op cooldown adjustments. In a content update earlier today, as in day of patch, we have reduced the co-op cooldown penalties to reflect the penalties from previous years. Apparently, there were stricter cooldown penalties. I don't know. I do wish solo ranked also had cooldown penalties for people who quit, but I'll take it for co-op as of now. And then there's a big one. The XP cap. Well, I don't necessarily agree 100% with what's said here. I appreciate thoroughly the communication. I'm not going to read this whole thing, because it's long. But basically, I'll read like the first couple paragraphs. We've seen a lot of discussion surrounding the SP cap in Diamond Dynasty, and wanted to take some time to explain its design intentions and provide context as to how it functions. Shout out. First off, how does it work? I love the way this is written. It's actually written. This is really good. The daily XP cap is 15,000 XP. And it only affects XP earned through gameplay. This means that XP earned through various other areas in Diamond Dynasty are not affected by the cap. If you have already reached the XP cap for the day, and you complete a section of a program that rewards 3,000 XP, you will still receive 3,000 XP. It's just gameplay. The cap exists strictly for XP earned through on-field activities such as hitting homers, tallying strikeouts, etc. Does not impact objectives. The gameplay XP cap is lower than it has been in previous years. It was intentional, and we instead placed larger amounts of XP rewards throughout various programs. For example, the BR program has 35,000 XP in it. Excuse me. As more content is dropped, there will be more ways to earn large amounts of XP. This is the part I really wanted to get to. We understand it can be frustrating to reach the gameplay XP cap, but it is necessary for the pacing of the content and to prevent the 99 overall rewards at the end of the path from interfering with the gradual rise in player overalls too soon. It's exactly what I've been saying, and I'm not trying to claim that I'm a genius because it's pretty friggin' obvious why they did it. But people are still getting confused as to why the XP cap exists. The XP cap has to exist. Where my disagreement falls with this is that A, I think 15,000 is just a shade too low. B, what happens if I don't hit my 15,000 XP cap? I think that remainder should be carried over to the next day. But only once can it be carried over. It cannot stack upon itself. Only one time can you carry it over. Or, and this is Ance's idea, and I claim no credit for this, or I don't claim any ideation of this, is that basically there's a stock amount of XP you can get in a 7-day period. And if you get it all on day one, you don't get anything for the rest of the 6 days. But basically that just means that you can grind at your own pace over the course of a week. That is where I think having an XP cap and still maintain the integrity and balance of Diamond Dynasty makes more sense. Because you let people play at a pace at which they're able to play. And still achieve the things that everyone else in the game is achieving. Also at their own paces. But you don't feel like you're falling behind if you skip a couple days. Or you don't necessarily feel as if you're like completely locked down by the constraints of the game. I know people have opinions on the XP cap. I'm curious, again, what everybody else thinks about the XP cap, but this is just kind of where my head is at. The XP cap isn't going away. I would imagine it's not going to change for Season 1. I can see a world in which it operates slightly differently in Season 2. Not drastically. But I also can see a world in which it stays the same. Listen, you might not have liked the result of this communication, but shout out to SDS for sticking to their guns and saying, like, no, I promise you, this is working the way we intended it to work, and here's why it's doing that. SDS and a lot of game companies very often like see community feedback and make switches to make people happy. But this is one where I'm like, you know what? I can respect the cap. Even if I wish it functioned a little differently, I see the vision. And, if I'm being honest, the power creep has been so much friggin' fun. The slow roll of content has been great. Knowing that 99's on the horizon, especially because I've dabbled with them in BR, like, I'm having a lot of fun. Team building is fun. I'm enjoying it. So I want SDS to maintain that integrity, and if they think this is the way to maintain that integrity, I'm going to trust it. Again, I'm always open to some fixes, some tweaks, some this and that. But in the general sense, it's good. Things are good. So let's get back to talking with my face. I actually think that's going to do it for this here episode, boys and girls. The update was big. The update broke the game. Then SDS fixed it. That is the moral of today's episode. That is the abridged version of the 30 plus minutes I've been recording. So basically, you could have just listened to that 30-second clip, and that'd be that. But that's it, everybody. Thank you all for making it to the end. As always, if you do that, you are a hero, an MVP, a legend, a king, and or queen. So thank you very much for making it to the end. Comment if you haven't already, anything you thought about the game update. And that's it. More content coming this week, of course. Make sure you watch that too. Make your boy happy. Thank you guys. Love you guys. See you next time.